Hey, Forrest here. Nothing like getting paid. And with ICCU's mobile app, I can deposit checks or accept Zelle payments so the money hits my account fast. I just wish there was an app for mowing the rest of these lawns.
Right now, Lithia Ford of Boise is buying used vehicles. How much you want for the SUV?
I don't know.
Well, Lithia Ford will give you more than that.
How much more?
More than you think.
I'm not thinking anything.
I'm thinking you might get even more than that. See how much more you can get at Lithia Ford of Boise.
This is Bronco Nation News Live. The best interviews, the most informed opinions, the latest breaking news, all from the top Boise State insiders. Joining BJ Rains today is KTIK 95.3 FM The Ticket's Mike Prater. Listen to Idaho Sports Talk with Prater in the Ballgame, weekdays from 3 to 6 on 95.3 FM The Ticket and online at KTIK.com. Now, here's Mike Prater and BJ Rains with another edition of Bronco Nation News Live.
Hey, how we doing? Good morning, Boise State fans. Happy Thursday to you. BJ Rains and Mike Prater with you on a Thursday here, Bronco Nation News Live, BroncoNationNews.com. Mike there in the Row Paint Studios, downtown Boise, 95.3 The Ticket. And Mike, it's Thursday. We appreciate you coming on, man. How's it going?
Hey, it's going great. It is Thursday, and one day closer to the weekend. And how you doing, Mr. St. Louis?
I am good. Got in late last night. The beauty of taking this show on the road, and as I told you last time I came on, I can once again officially say that I'm a blogger in my parents' basement. So
I love that.
We're in St. Louis, actually taking my kids to the Blues game tonight, and then we'll be here for Boise State, St. Louis on Saturday. So it worked out nicely that I got to come home for a couple days early and do the show and work from here. And then Boise State, St. Louis, big game for Boise State on Saturday night.
I'm excited for you tonight. That's going to be really cool. If I could pick one sporting event to do in my entire life, it would be to take my son to a hockey game. So that's the one passion we share. So I am extremely jealous, even though it's the St. Louis Blues, but to have fun tonight. That's cool, dude.
Yeah, and they're playing the Winnipeg Jets tonight, who actually are pretty good, but they just don't have the name. But on Sunday afternoon, they play the Avalanche, and was originally going to say, oh, we'll go see the Avalanche, and then I looked at ticket prices, and I said, no, we're going to see Winnipeg. So we'll be seeing Winnipeg Jets tonight, but looking forward to that.
The kids don't care. The kids don't care.
They both actually play in a floor hockey league, and Naismith was the goalie last game, so they want to go down early and watch the warm-ups and stand down by the ice, and they're very observant. So it should
tell him not to be like Jordan Bennington.
That would be true. They don't know that. They don't know how that they don't know that he's given up an average of like 5 goals a game either. So they'll have their Tarasenko jerseys on and they'll be ready to go. So we'll see what happens. They're looking forward to that, and nice to mix in work with seeing family for a few days. Derek says Boise State basketball is rolling. Can't wait for the SLU coverage this week. Yeah, big game on Saturday. SLU's ahead of Boise State. They're about 50 or so, I think, in Ken Palm. So Boise State's 3 for 3 in kind of their big games so far with Colorado, Washington State, and Texas A&M. And this would kind of be the icing on the cake if they're able to get this one on Saturday. But I'm going to talk mostly football today, Mike. There's been no news, which is kind of news to me in terms of the the offensive coordinator search. They're looking for 2 coaches. If you're a subscriber of Bronco Nation News or you've been following these shows, you knew way back on Sunday that Kelly Papinga was leaving. We were we'll toot our own horn. Why not? We were the first and really the only person to break it. I never saw anybody else ever confirm it until BYU put it out that Kelly Papinga leaving for BYU. So Boise State looking for an edge coach, potentially someone that could help with special teams as well. We'll see if they reorganize any of the titles there. But also looking for an offensive coordinator, which they've known about for a while, Mike. And I thought we could take some time today to kind of dive into that a little bit because we've known this was coming for a while. Andy, at one point, middle of the season, you or somebody asked him about the timetable, and he didn't really want to talk about it and gave us kind of the typical Andy Avalos and no comment, short answer, but did say something about how they'd want to have it done, alluded to before signing day. And you would think they've been thinking about this for a while. I mean, I know he's working about, coaching the team and trying to win games, but he had a piece of paper with the list, and he was talking to guys you would have thought, at least informally, way back since Dirk Cutter left. And so I'm a little surprised we don't have any news yet on an offensive coordinator. With the transfer portal open, you'd think for some of your current players too, they might like to know who the OC is. But what do you make of the fact that we haven't really heard anything? I haven't heard any interviews, any rumblings, nothing. And I know that's all going on. And literally while we're on the air here, we could get the press release saying they've hired somebody, which probably will happen. But it's been kind of quiet on that front, and they need to get moving on that.
Yeah, I'm not too worried about the timing right now. If we got the press release right now, I would probably think it was a little faster than I thought. What's going on behind the scenes, and a guy like you who's chasing scoops and chasing information behind the scenes, and good job on Popinga, by the way. It's there might be some stuff out there for a guy like you to chase, but I haven't heard anything. I think you're 100% right there. We did talk to Andy Avalos during the season, and of course he didn't want to touch it. He said, we're not going there, Mike. And I followed it up by saying, you've got to have, be prepared. And do you want to do it before the signing period starts? And he said, he talked about having this greater responsibility. That was the phrase he used. We're day to day, we're week to week, we're opponent to opponent, but I understand I have this greater responsibility. So that's what he's doing behind the scenes. Is he's got that piece of paper, he's got that list. Hopefully he's making some phone calls. I would expect something in the next 10 days. Okay. I would hold him to that deadline of the signing period, because that's a critical time to have an offensive coordinator. And I don't think if you miss that deadline, I think that's very, very important. It sends a wrong message to the kids on your team. It sends a wrong message to your recruits. You need to know who your offensive coordinator is. So over the next 10 days, we'll certainly keep a close eye on that thing. And I keep waiting for you to break that story, my friend.
Can only break so many, Mike. Come on. We got it. Maybe we'll let somebody else have one at some point. We'll see here,
get that one. That's a big one. That's a big one.
Hey, I got the head coach, Andy Avalos, last year, so we'll maybe somebody else can have the – we'll see. But, yeah, I am working on that. We're trying. I haven't heard much, which is why I thought it was a good thing to talk about today, because it's been kind of eerily quiet. But that doesn't mean they're not interviewing people and talking to people. It just means we haven't heard them come out in terms of who it might be at this point. We've heard the obvious candidates, the Ryan Dinwiddies, the Matt Millers, the Kirby Moores, the Mike Sanfords, all the guys. Are we expecting that the hire to be someone that we've mentioned or thought about, or do you think there's a chance it's somebody that when the hire comes in, we're like, oh, that makes sense, never thought of that?
Yeah, certainly I think we're going to know the name. It's not going to be who. I don't think Andy's going to dig that deep into the hole to find an offensive coordinator, although I guess that option is always on the table. Those four names are the four obvious names: Sanford, Dinwiddie, Kirby Moore, and Matt Miller. I think there's some pros and there's some cons with all four of those. And, there's relationships with Boise State, relationships with Andy Avalos. I don't know how he feels about some of these guys. So those are the four names that you would certainly put on a list. After that, there's probably 3 or 4 that he's chasing. I really haven't spent too much time thinking about the exact name of the candidate, other than maybe the style of offensive coordinator, where they come from. Do you want somebody within the family? Boise State does a really nice job of going within the family, but I also like them to do a nice job of going outside the family. And I think Andy's done a nice job of mixing that up. So I cannot wait. In this particular case, there's so many obvious names within the family. You almost think it's going to be one of those 4 guys, but sometimes when it's too obvious, it doesn't work out that way.
Now you do, to plug your guys' show today, you have Mike Sanford coming on the show today, right?
Not only do we have today, Idaho Sports Talk is talking to Mike Sanford, and we're also going to be talking to Ryan Dinwiddie. And we're going to air the Ryan Dinwiddie interview tomorrow. There's some behind-the-scenes stuff, because he's actually in the Bahamas right now celebrating a Grey Cup championship with his football team. So we're going to record an interview with Ryan Dinwiddie today. We've talked to him before about the offensive coordinator job on Idaho Sports Talk, and he said, yeah, who knows? I might be interested. This was during the season as he was chasing the Grey Cup. We're going to ask him directly about that again today, air that interview tomorrow. And we are talking to Mike Sanford today, live right here on Idaho Sports Talk at 5 o'clock. And we're going to talk about the offensive coordinator job. He's unemployed right now. Could he come here on a Keith Bonaparte deal, because he's still getting a lot of cash from Colorado, and who knows how many other stops he's getting cash from still. But Mike Sanford, could come in. Keith Bonaparte came over from Washington. Washington's paying a lot of his salary. And Andy Avalos, the biggest question to me about this offensive coordinator job is, how the hell am I going to afford somebody to take care of my quarterback for the next couple of football seasons?
I want Mike Sanford. I think he'd be awesome, and he's probably not a candidate. I guess if he's maybe he's coming on today just because I don't know, but you're probably right. If he's coming on your show, he's probably not a serious candidate for the job. But I would love him. He was great to work with the media, great to work with, great dude. Big Giants fans, always like talking baseball with them. And the one year he was the OC, they won the Fiesta Bowl and they ran all kinds of trick plays. And but he's been a lot of places. He's had a lot of stops. Obviously was the head coach at Western Kentucky. Obviously went to Notre Dame first and has been at Minnesota and Utah State and Colorado. I mean, he's been at like 6 places since he left Boise State.
Yeah, and I think he specializes. Well, I know he specializes in quarterbacks. I mean, he brought Ian Book to Notre Dame. He recruited him, brought him, partially developed him. Mike White out of Western Kentucky. He had his hands all over that. So, you know what? I don't care. If
Grant Hedrick wasn't exactly a star quarterback, and he turned him into a pretty good quarterback.
There you go. There's no option number 3. I don't need somebody to come in here and be a lifer. As a matter of fact, I don't care if Andy Avalos hires a renta offensive coordinator for the next 2 years. And if a guy like Mike Sanford is available for the next 2 years on a cheap contract because Colorado is still paying him, I need somebody to come in and take care of Taylor Green for 2 years, period. I know there's 100 football players on this team, and I know the offensive concepts are very, very important to this football team, but I need somebody who can develop Taylor Green. This is a very special opportunity for Boise State, and this guy, the ceiling is massive. So bring in a developer. I don't care about a play caller. You can figure that part out.
Yeah.
Somebody that comes in, and that's why I get concerned a little bit about Kirby Moore or a Matt Miller. Great coaches. They've dabbled in quarterbacks. They've dabbled in play calling. But I need a true proven developer of that quarterback developer. And I think Mike Sanford really fits into that thing. So
yeah,
I said earlier that the fact that he's coming on our show, usually when these guys are serious about a job behind the scenes, they don't like to go out and pump themselves on the media. So I'm a little curious as to why he's coming on today, but we're going to grill him and we're going to get after it, and hopefully we'll get some information.
Yeah, I think he'd be great. And like you said, if somebody says, Nate Staley says, I would love Sanford, but he has ants in his pants, would only be here 2 years max.
I'm okay.
So what? Yeah, I mean, and if you're Mike Sanford, you want to resurrect your career as potentially have another chance at a head coaching job or at least another Power 5 coordinator type spot. What better way than to come even on a discount and take over this offense and score 40 points a game the next 2 years?
And develop Taylor Green and put him in the National Football League and say, hey, look what I did. I just did that. I've done Ian Book. I've done Mike White. I've done Taylor Green. And I'm probably missing a couple of others that he's taken care of. So, yes, give me 2 years. Give me a rental OC. And if it's Mike Sanford, I think on paper, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, and we'll see. And the money part is going to be interesting because as we've talked about, Keith Bonifay, you mentioned the Keith Bonifay deal. Well, that's over. I mean, he has to get a huge raise now. His salary goes up like $200,000. There's only a $50,000 raise listed as a guarantee.
Yep. We
did talk to the day before the championship game. I wish I had it queued up. We talked to Jeremiah Dickey, and we talked about having to raise the salary pool. And I kind of followed up and said, do you mean more than the $50,000? I mean, are we talking like a legit thing? And he said, his kind of typical what we need, we're going to get or whatever. But he basically said yes, if they need to raise it for the right candidate or for the coaching staff to keep some of these coaches, because let's be honest, Mike, you probably got to give a raise to Spencer Danielson too.
Yeah.
And you mentioned Bonifay's already, that's an in-house thing where Bonifay's already going up $200,000. It's why I probably think Jabril Frazier just gets the edge position, because you were paying Kelly Papinga, I think $250,000, which is crazy to me.
Yes.
But you could hire Jabril Frazier maybe for $80,000 or $100,000 and save $150,000 right there that you can use to almost offset Bonifay's raise. And then because he's been working with the edges the last couple of years anyway, as kind of the assistant to Papinga.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, I mean, not to take away from the position, but you're coaching 5 guys. It's kind of like the tight end position. Like, it's just amazing to me that the kind of money that gets thrown around for some of these positions where you're but that's beside the point. But I think that you could save some money there, and then you're going to have, you're going to have to, and maybe Mike Sanford is the way you balance the budget, because if he is making the Colorado money, maybe he comes in. The going rate for OCs these days, Mike, is, they've never paid more, I think, than like $330,000 for any assistant coach ever. And I think it's $330 was the highest they've ever paid an assistant coach. The offensive coordinator one, I think, was like $310 or $315. But if you're wanting a legit OC, I mean, I don't know if they can go all the way to $500,000 or something, but you're going to have to get a legit candidate in here on a, when there's no other contract stuff involved, they're going to have to find some serious money. So we're talking about 2, 3, 4, $500,000. Maybe they're going to have to raise the salary pool here to keep these coaches and get some new ones in.
Yeah, no, I thoroughly agree. And that's definitely the challenge that Jeremiah Dickey has right now. I also had a chance to talk to Jeremiah Dickey about this exact thing. And, that assistant salary pool was what, $2.1, $2.2 million. And you said the $50,000 raise, whoopee-doo, that's nothing. But Jeremiah did clarify. He goes, that's the floor. He says, that's the floor, and that's how we think here at Boise State. So it's not like that's the ceiling. It's not like the 2.15 or whatever it is the ceiling in terms of the salary pool. Because as you said, what do I have to do to go out and get it? If you need it, I'll go out and find it. So he's telling Andy Avalos, you can spend at least this much money, but you can also go up here if you need to. So I think there's some flexibility. And we're only talking about a couple $100,000, but you'd have to do it over course of a couple of years. That's why I worry about like a Ryan Dinwiddie. If you bring in Ryan Dinwiddie, you're going to have to pay him $400,000, and you're going to have to pay him for the next couple of years, and you're not getting any help from anybody else. I'm not sure Boise State can fit that into their puzzle. Maybe Sanford fits in a little bit nicely. I'm a little bit worried that he's going to go after Matt Miller just because it's the easy, convenient hire. It's not an indictment on Matt Miller, although Matt Miller doesn't have an extensive record of play calling and developing quarterbacks. He did it a little bit when he took over interim-wise at Montana State. And I think he's a sharp guy. We'll see how he fits into that picture. But I would hope that he goes off and extends this position farther than just Matt Miller, because Taylon Green deserves it. Taylon Green deserves a world-class elite quarterback developer over the next couple of years. The play calling and the offensive concepts will take care of themselves.
Well, I would be okay with Matt Miller as the OC, but I would not love Matt Miller as the quarterback's coach.
Agreed.
And usually the quarterback's coach is the OC, but there are scenarios sometimes where I think Bush Hamden at Missouri was the quarterback's coach and just the quarterback's coach this last year at Missouri, and Eli Drinkwitz was the head coach / coordinator and called the plays himself. So if I'd be okay with Matt Miller getting it, but then you'd have to go find somebody who's just the quarterback's coach. And I don't know if you're doing that, why not just hire somebody else that can do both?
Yep.
It's going to be very interesting. Do you expect any other staff movement? I mean, I do, Frank Maile is a guy that I always think is possible at some point just because he doesn't really have ties here and is very well respected. There was some rumors about him potentially going back to BYU at some point. I think it was last year, Washington really, really came after him and offered him, I think, more money. And he could to go to Washington last year with DeBoer, and he stayed. So I guess you'll never know. And the way this business works is, Mike too, is a lot of times these deals are agreed to in principle or behind the scenes. And then they wait till signing day. And you see a lot of movement come out, a day or two after signing day, which it's just the business of the way it is. But
I hate that.
Danielson, I think Danielson likes it here, but I would assume he's going to get some interest from some Power 5 schools too. Any concern or worry for any other coaches, or do you think this might be it for this cycle?
No, I definitely think there's going to be at least one more. And I'm not saying that for any reason other than just that's the percentages, that's the odds. And if they lost Spencer Danielson, that would be devastating. To have to replace your offensive and defensive coordinator when you're having a financial budget crunch, that is just a brutal, brutal position. Not only is that, Spencer Danielson's going to leave. He's young, he's rising, he's marketable, he's attractive, he's valuable, and somebody's going to latch on to that dude. But I think he likes it here. He's grounded. He looks at life for other reasons than just chasing cash. So I think he could probably buy some time there, depending on the relationship that Andy and Spencer Danielson have. And by all accounts, it seems like it's very positive. But they have to keep Spencer Danielson. I was worried about Maile going to BYU, but BYU has already got its defensive coordinator, Jay Hill, the coach out of Weber State. So I think Maile is not going to BYU. The other coaches, the other positions, it's not sure. Warren, the cornerback coach, I don't know if he made any kind of a difference here, but I don't know if that means he's going to leave or not. It seems like that's the one quiet coach on this football staff that was or wasn't making that big of a difference, at least on the outside. Everybody else on this team, I don't know. We'll see how it shakes out, but I would suspect Andy Avalos is going to lose at least one more coach.
Skyship says any chatter about a DB coach been roasted for years in the secondary on the blue.
Yeah. I get concerned about that. Absolutely.
We got folks calling for Cody Hawkins to come back, follow his dad as OC. You got James saying throw the kitchen sink at Coach Pete.
Good luck with that. He'll throw
it worked for Dirk Cutter. You can't get Coach Pete to come back and
I wish.
Do you think Chris Peterson ever coaches again in some capacity?
Up until about 6 months ago, I would have said no way. But I starting to get this little feeling that he's a little bit more public right now. I think he's digging his television gig. I see him doing a couple more television or radio interviews.
Yeah, podcasts and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So he seems like he's out there having more fun. He's more viable. I've been chasing him for the last couple of weeks, trying to get him on this show and see what we can do. But yeah, I'm going to give that about a 10% chance that under the right circumstances, and he's not going to go someplace like Stanford, where he's going to have to beat his head against the wall. Back in the day, the Stanford OKG thing made sense. The Stanford OKG thing makes no sense right now. That's an impossible job that would drive Chris Peterson crazy. So it would have to be really, really, really special. Maybe like a Davis. I could see him replacing Dan Hawkins at Davis one day. Casual, coaching, kids, difference maker, impact, emotional connection. But a crazy Power 5 job, I don't think that's in it for him anymore.
You're not going to give the fans some hope. Come on, Mike Prater. Just say there's a 0.5% chance or something. Come on.
No, I gave him a 10% chance that he's going to coach again. That's new for me. Come on, man.
Hey, we got to thank a couple of our sponsors here real quick. We're broadcasting from the Cutwater Can Cocktail Studios here on the road in St. Louis as we get set for the St. Louis Boise State basketball game on Saturday. More than 30 flavors of pre-mixed premium cocktails. You can get more information at Cutwater Spirits, Cutwater Can Cocktails, your local gas station or grocery store. Rowpaint.com, our title sponsor. Check them out as well. They do a great job. They're more than just commercial painting, industrial painting. You name it. They can get the concrete coatings in your basement, your garage. They can help paint the siding on your house, the inside of your house. They got a lot of great deals going on now, too, for the winter months. Check them out at rowpaint.com. Lithia Ford of Boise. We appreciate their support. Loving my F-150. So go to lithiafordboise.com, check their full inventory, and then you can just go in and test drive and be on your way. So Lithia Ford of Boise and Idaho Central Credit Union. Prater, we had the first night last night of the giving games with the Boise State esports team. The tournament last night, I can report that Bronco Nation News, our team went 1-1 on the first night of the tournament. Idaho Central Credit Union is sponsoring that as well, so we appreciate them. Nice. ICCU.com. And make sure you check them out in mobile banking, and it's all right there, and it's so easy to do. So we appreciate Idaho Central Credit Union. And yeah, I couldn't find 4 players, and then I ended up getting Joel Velasquez, the old kicker, and Sean Whale, the old punter. They both ended up playing on it. They were 2 of our 4 members because somebody backed out at the last minute, and Joel was like, "Oh, I can get Sean Whale." I was like, "All right, sure." So. And they're apparently pretty serious gamers. They went down to the esports arena and put the headset on and got after it with the Call of Duty game. And we lost to the ICCU team, but we took down Java Express. Nice. I believe in game 2, I believe it was. So that'll continue on Friday, and we're making a $1,000 donation to the Idaho Food Bank as part of that tournament. So having fun, and appreciate Joel and Sean for participating in that tournament.
And how about that esports? Doc Haskell and his esports team earlier this week, they won a national championship. I think in Overwatch is what it was.
Yeah.
They won a Mountain West championship a couple of weeks ago, and this past weekend, they won a national championship. So we need to get the PR department down there cranking out more press releases and giving this program a little bit of love. I don't play games. I'm not a video gamer by any means. Look at me. I'm an old fat guy, but I love that program. I love Doc Haskell. I've been down to that stadium 2 or 3 times. I love to go down there and just get soaked up in the environment. And congratulations to the Broncos for winning a national championship.
I do want to mention quickly, too, Prater, we're giving away this chair tomorrow. This will be nice in the Prater tailgate, this Bud Light Seltzer. It's called a zero-gravity chair. So
wow.
It's nicer than just a standard chair. It's called a zero-gravity chair. You can kind of lean back in it, and it's got the little tray there for your drinks and your food. And we'll be giving this away tomorrow. So you got one more day here to jump on in and subscribe. And tomorrow's subscriber giveaway as part of Subscriber Appreciation Month will be this Bud Light Seltzer zero-gravity chair, as well as a couple Blue and Orange Store gift cards, a couple rounds of golf at Timberstone. So get on in, subscribe now. We'd love to have you. And you'll be eligible for the grand prize as well. That's a private jet for 2 down to Las Vegas for the basketball game. That'll be the end of the month, December 31st for that one. So, Prater, we got about 5 minutes left here. And Oh, Jordan says that it was nice of us to let our sponsor ICCU win. Yeah, that's exactly what we did. That was part of the agreement. I made sure that they let the sponsor win that. So yeah,
Smart.
I haven't had a chance to get your reaction just to the. I know it's obviously we've known about it for a few days now, but just the way it all shook down, losing the championship and playing in the Frisco Bowl, and you get North Texas, a 7-6 North Texas team, and I know some fans were hoping for a little better opponent. The trade-off of getting done before Christmas, and you lose your, as I said yesterday with Winston. I mean, you lose your title game, you don't really get a lot of options, and don't have much say in the options. So, what do you make in North Texas and the matchup? And still a chance for Boise State to get to 10 wins, and what I would say would be I was certainly an improvement from last year. If you get to 10 wins over the 7 last year, I know you didn't win the Mountain West, so it maybe not be the perfect season, but to get to 10 wins and build some momentum for what I think could be a interesting and potentially special 2023 season, at least on offense. What do you make just about finishing up in Frisco?
I think it's so important, and I know it's a crappy bowl game. I really do, and I know it's a crappy opponent, and they may still beat Boise State. I have no idea. I'm not going to worry about the X's and O's of that game for a while, but I think just based on what you said in terms of, first of all, they need to just play the game because Boise State hasn't played a bowl game in a long time. This senior class has never won a bowl game. They have no bowl ring championships. You just kind of need to get that stupid streak of weird bowl situations behind you. And you need to win this game. You need to get that 10th win. You need to go into the offseason with a feel-good moment because it's been a while around here. I really think that the next 2 years are going to be optimistic and exciting with this offense. And we're going to switch from an offensive or a defensive-heavy football team this year to an offensive-heavy football team next year. And that's right up Bronco Nation's alley. And maybe they can come out and score 30, 40 points. We'll see how the offensive coordinator shakes out. But there's so much excitement moving forward with Taylor Green and company that I cannot wait to see how it plays out. But I do think it starts with this bowl game. This bowl game is very, very important. Play it, win it, get out of there clean, just do something routine. I don't care about the bowl game. I don't care about the opponent. I don't care about the destination. They're all crappy. And that's what happens when you lose your championship game. And it's all about perspective. The Mountain West needs to get a better number 2 destination for its bowl opponent. We talked about that with Craig Thompson and new commissioner Gloria Navarez last week. But we're in the West, and part of the reason is geography. Look at USC, for crying out loud. They lost their conference championship game, and yeah, they're going to the Cotton Bowl, and they're going to get a little cash, but they're playing Tulane. Do you think USC's happy after losing its conference championship game? USC, Boise State, they're kind of in the same relative area, perspective. And the West needs better bowl attractions. That's why I want a number 2 junior varsity bowl in San Diego. I'd love to see a number 2 junior varsity bowl in Vegas and give some of these Western teams a better chance. But none of that really matters this week. Just beat North Texas and come home with a bowl victory and move on to next year.
That 2019 game, Prater, the Vegas Bowl against Coach Pete there, where Boise State was like 11-1 and I guess 12-1, and then lost that game to Coach Pete in his last game. That was the 2019. That was the last experience. And if you go with how crappy that was, the last bowl win and like successful bowl trip was the 2017 Las Vegas Bowl against Oregon. I mean, Leighton Vander Esch.
Yeah.
The Leighton Vander Esch game, his last game at Boise State was the last time Boise State won a bowl game. And they've only finished one. I mean, 2018, you had the first responder bowl you mentioned it, them not having a bowl ring. I mean, it's unbelievable with the game getting canceled. Brett Rippon's last game, Alexander Madison's last game being canceled in the first quarter due to thunderstorms. I mentioned the Washington loss in 2019, 2020. They opt out and decide they don't want to go to a bowl game. Coach Harsin leaves for Auburn. They lose that championship game down to San Jose State in Vegas. And then, last year they're getting ready to leave for the Barstool Bowl, and that gets canceled as well. So when I saw the coach leave for North Texas, I was half worried they were going to opt back out or something, and Boise State was going to get screwed again. It really is crazy. I mean, now Boise State, what do they call it? They say 25 straight years they've been bowl eligible or whatever. They have to change the wording, but they've had a string of bad luck. So hopefully for the players' sake, they're able to at least go down there, enjoy themselves. It's close to home for a lot of players. Taylor Green, Ashton Genty. I mean, there's 12 players on the roster. Over 10% of the roster is from Texas. So all things considered, I just hope it goes well for them. And then you get a win that could certainly, turn this into a pretty nice season.
Not only is it a good I mean, the one thing that we're not talking about, we mentioned it the other day on Idaho Sports Talk, the Texas high school playoffs are happening this week and next week. There's a lot of semifinals this week, a lot of state championships next week. And guess who's going to be in Texas all of next week with their name in the newspaper and whatever? So Boise State is going to be in Texas. It's in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex area. Denton's just north of the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And they're going to be down there playing this game. So I think, they can recruit. I'm not sure what the rules are. I'm not sure if they can talk to these kids. It might be kind of.
They can go to their schools, their house. They've been down there in Texas all week this week, and they're just going to, I'm sure after practice and everything, all of next week, they're going to be able to go see some kids for sure.
I would think so. At one point, a quiet period kicks in. So I'm assuming it's after the bowl game. I needed to check my calendar.
Weekend. It's like the 3 days right before signing day. Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. So this week and next week, Texas high school football will be king. And Boise State will be right down there in the middle of it all, knocking on doors, taking care of business. We've seen the social media pictures of coaches out and about this week.
Yeah.
I expect to see a massive flood of that next week. I saw some people criticizing Boise State. They shouldn't take a bowl game just based on the fact that it's pre-Christmas. Well, if you have a great bowl game and a bad bowl game and you're going to decide that, that's fine. Boise State's bowl options, if they even had options, were all about the same. Take care of business, get it out of the way, get done recruiting, go home for Christmas, give the kids a couple of weeks break. To me, it all makes sense. Everything about this bowl game makes sense except the destination, the opponent, and Boise State can't worry about that.
Well, we appreciate all the comments that are rolling in here. Sorry we didn't have time to put them all up on the screen. People say an amazing wrinkle to this bowl game. Great call, Prater. Somebody's wanting me to shotgun a Cutwater and suit up to rush adjacent to Matlock. We got no DNs left, is what Sky says. But we'll see what the roster shapes up with some of the guys in the transfer portal and stuff. And then one of these weeks with you, Mike, maybe next week or the week after, I want to maybe take some guesses on the sixth-year guys that we think will be back or not, and kind of start to shape the roster for next season. But we can do that after the bowl game, I guess. But appreciate your time as always, Mike. Again, you got Mike Sanford coming up on the show today, 3 to 6 with you and Prater and JP and Bob. And then you'll have Ryan Dinwiddie tomorrow as well. I'll join you guys tomorrow to, I assume, probably talk some basketball ahead of the SLU game tomorrow, and looking forward to that. And I think Coach Rice is going to let us maybe watch some practice tomorrow when they get in town, so may have a little extra info for you. We'll see on how things are going. But appreciate you as always. Appreciate you, Prater, and appreciate everybody for watching us. Thanks to JP for helping get us on here. Sorry we went a minute over here, but have a great day. We'll be listening 3 to 6 for Mike Sanford on KTIK The Ticket. My name is BJ Rains. We'll talk to you later. Bronco Nation News, Bronco Nation News.